And now we're live. Happy Friday, everybody. Today is September the 11th, and you're hanging out with my community manager, the community built by, for, and managed by community managers. As always, you can chat along with us over at our Twitter chat at hashtag CMGR Hangout, where I know a few of you are hanging out right now, so thanks, guys, for hanging out with us on a Friday. If you love what you're seeing, or maybe you don't, you have some ideas, or you'd like to be on the panel, or maybe you have a friend that'd like to be on the panel, please hit us up over on our website at mycmgr.com. There's a little button. You click participate, fill that out. We get that, and really it's your ideas, and it's you who make this happen every week. So thanks for that. All right, what do we have for you this week? It's tools of the trade. It's like hashtag tool time, right? So we get so many requests to talk tools, but we realize it's been a while since we talked about them, and so hey, we're just going to get down to it. Here's our chance. If you have any tool ideas or any questions, please feel free to tweet it into the hashtag at hashtag CMGR Hangout. Please tag at myCMGR so we're for sure to see it. And with that, I'm just going to let everybody introduce themselves, starting with Sherry. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, everybody. My name is Sherry, as Brew already said, and I am the community manager for Magento, which is an open source e-commerce platform, as well as co-producer here for CMGR Hangout.
So I guess they got me going next. My name is Jacob. I just got thrown into this by Sarah at Sprout Social, which is great, by the way, as we start talking about tools of the trade. I'm a community manager for Hanami Media out of New York City, and as of this week, the lead copywriter for Xerox. So that's a little bit about me. I don't have a fancy bio thing yet, but I'll put ads and follow stuff later. Thanks.
Awesome stuff. I love your hat too. That's sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, my name is Dom. I am a community manager for BTC Revolutions, as well as co-host here with Sherry and Brew. And I love topics like this because we get to hear what everybody does, and then what they use, and then give love to all of our good friends and all that stuff. So it's going to be awesome.
Awesome, count one. I am Kristen Cardos, and I work with everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I work with a lot of different different entities. Social Business Hour, Millennial CEO, Cloud Talk, Talent Culture. Busy, having fun in the communities though.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris McCoolin. I own a high-end yo-yo company in Canada, and I do everything with it, from social media to running ads to sales, marketing, everything. My favorite part is the community building and community engagement. And then what else do I do? I'm starting up the Snapchat marketing business. Got into Snapchat through my yoga company. We love it, and it's Caribou Social, so check it out.
Hey everybody, my name is Alan Bush. I am a technical community manager at Rackspace, and really excited to get on here and talk about some of the cool tools we use.
Awesome. So thanks, everybody. For those of you who might not know me, I am Brew, the Director of Awesome with BTC Revolutions, and a co-producer here at myCMGR. Well, let's just jump into the first question. This has to do with phones. And the question is, what app do you use the most on your phone? And, I mean, we should probably just leave Tinder off the table. But besides that, I know, Dom, you're like, oh, easy answer. Yeah, so what's your number one used app on your phone? Go.
I'm a bit guilty of using Buffer for community management. I know Sarah from Sprout Social invited me to this, and I just recently got the Sprout Social app. But those make it extremely easy to manage all of your social. So that's my business related. My social is probably mostly Snapchat and Instagram at the moment.
I use the native Twitter app probably the most. That's where I'll go in and respond to things a lot of times while I'm running around. That's probably the one far and away as far as how much time is spent in an app. That would be the one for me.
I think I probably use the Hangouts app on my phone the most, just to do communication between individuals and sometimes do a little live thing. As far as communicating with customers and other people, probably Falcon Pro 3 is the app of choice. I might be the only Android user, so I use Falcon Pro. It's a, hey, there we go, I was wrong, glad to be wrong. I use Falcon Pro because it really does a great job of using Twitter lists. It's a Twitter client for Android, and it does a great job of putting lists together. And that's something that I think that the native Twitter client is lacking. However, good news is that Twitter just hired the developer of Falcon Pro 3 to work on their native Android app. So that's going to be really big. It's going to be a game changer for those of us that use Twitter clients on our phones on the Android side.
And Sherry, was your intention for this question like what app we use the most for community management, or just the app we use the most in general?
Just in general.
App we use in general.
Yeah, Tinder could be a legit answer to it if you want to out yourself. It's fine.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I wonder if there's like a screen in here somewhere that tells you how much you spend on each.
There's
app.
one that tells you data usage, but that's not necessarily the app that you use the most. It depends on how data intensive your favorite app is.
I know there's a couple of apps, at least on the Android ecosystem, that'll kind of aggregate that for you. Some of them are marketed more towards like preventing you from spending too much time in them too. So that might be a good tool to use, especially in that context.
So my guess is I probably use Facebook the most on my phone. It's mostly the only place I use Facebook. I don't use it much on the desktop. And then second would be Yik Yak. And then probably third would be Amazon. So yeah, that's my.
Have you guys noticed that a lot of times, at least for managing communities, the mobile app is a lot more intuitive to use than, say, like the web service? You can just tend to do things a lot faster on your app because they have to dumb it down. For example, when I use a Buffer or Sprout Social, I just scroll through and I can add content really quickly, whereas online it like opens a new window and I have to go through this whole process. Like the mobile experience is dumbed down to make it streamlined and really, really quick.
I think that tends to be the case with some of the tools. Obviously, that's what we're going to be talking about. But like things like Sprout, things like Buffer, especially. It is very, very easy to be able to add content. But then at the same time, I think that if you're talking about inside of the actual, like if you're doing native with with Twitter or with Facebook, for me it's a lot easier to do it through the to do it actually on my laptop as opposed to doing it on the phone. Just because it gives you all of the options, so it's all there, and you can sort of see it a little bit more completely than just on your screen. That's my personal opinion with it.
What is this? What are you showing us?
His front screen, his most used apps.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I thought I was off of mute. I was gonna say I was gonna show this. It's a little nerdy, but I actually downloaded an app called Chill, just so I could put it right next to Netflix, and I don't even know what the app does.
You just downloaded it into the
But it's like just a fun joke every time I go to do Netflix on my phone.
That's so funny.
Brew, how often do you actually watch Netflix on your phone? Let me just ask that. I know this isn't. Do any of you guys really use Netflix on your phone often?
So I do if I forget my iPad. Especially driving around.
I do all the time, but not. But I use the Chromecast functionality to send it to my television.
Okay. Just because I was wondering, because I mean, even with the screen, I have the iPhone 6, and it's like I still feel like if I'm gonna watch like a full movie, it would be super hard to watch it.
If you lay in bed and hold it like this, it's like being at the drive-ins.
That's what happens until you drop your phone on your face, which I have done enough times that I just don't do that in bed anymore.
But I find for me, if I want to watch Netflix, if I want to commit to that level of time spent, I want to be away from all the electronic stuff. That's kind of the point of why I'm doing it. So it's TV for me.
That's a good point. All those extra notifications that pop up.
Yeah, that's the worst, when it's like you get notifications while you're trying to watch.
The worst is when you get a notification and you try to swipe it to make it go away, but then you accidentally click on it and it takes you to that app and you're like, I was in the middle of an episode of Top Gear. Why in the world am I now looking at my Hangouts?
All right, we're gonna throw ourselves into question number 2 here, which is, what is your most recently discovered tool that you use?
I just started using QuickBooks. I know that sounds pretty awful, but I recently launched my business about 6 months ago, and taxes have been stressing me out like nobody's business. So QuickBooks and Evernote and a bunch of task management apps to help me stop going crazy. It's kind of like my recently discovered awesome app download.
There's a tool called Sales Prodigy that is for mobile that I discovered, I don't know, a couple months ago. And it's a sort of a listening tool where you can put in, criteria for listening on Twitter. And I really like it a lot. It's free. I'll drop their handle in the chat.
For me, my newest tool is Airmail, actually, Airmail 2. I love it. It's a great email client. But as far as like social goes, probably Affinio. Loving it. Just like finding insights and customers and segmenting them and looking for, new people. It's great for running targeted ads. On Twitter. So yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then I combine that with like Social Bro.
So is Affinio kind of like
list building?
Is Affinio like just an overall social tool?
Well, it uses a social graph to basically segment people based on interests. So for me, for my new business, Caribou Social, I wanted to find people that work in advertising or digital marketers or kind of social media project managers, and from there, they did some initial searches, and then they were able to find, like 10,000, 15,000 people that all have this similar interest for each one of those segments. And from there, I can reach out to those people and find them easily or send Twitter ads to them. So basically, like most listening tools, they only give you, 20% of the total people, because they only bring out the noisy people. But there's still like 80% of people that are there. They're there on Twitter, they're checking in, but they don't, they're not engaging. The most they do is just favorite something. But they're following people, they're following news, they're following things. So this helps you find that 80%, and then you're able to kind of reach that people either with ads or following them or trying to engage with them.
Yeah, cool.
This is really cool. Yeah, I think Jay Baer is a huge fan of it, and I think they sponsor his show, Social Pros podcast. But yeah, just recently found it, and yeah, it's loving it. It's pretty cool. It's expensive though, which sucks. But.
One that I haven't had a chance to use yet, but well, not much, so can't say I'm using it right now, but I'm really excited to give it a try here. It's called Crystal, and I think it's at crystalknows.com, and the idea behind that is it takes a look at at somebody's social profile, their entire social graph across all the networks that they have made public, and gives you an idea of what their persona is. How do they like to communicate? Should you just get to start up buddy or whatever, or should you or should you start off with just the facts kind of a pitch to them? And what I'm thinking about using this for is to try to understand the different people that I interact with. I mean, are they somebody that's going to prefer to be marketed to in one way or the other. And it has a neat tool where it will actually help you to craft emails, right, for that person. Now, I don't necessarily recommend just using cutting and pasting the email that they craft for you. I think it even has something that plugs in with Gmail and will send it right out for you, and that's not necessarily the best way to do that, I think. But it gives you an idea of some of the different ways that you can communicate with somebody, and it's a pretty cool little tool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I can use it.
One tool that I've started using. I mean, you could sort of call it a tool. If anything, it's when I'm on mobile, it's a very easy way to be able to find something. And as everybody knows, like, I am in love with GIFs. Like, GIFs are one of my favorite things. And depending on the community, it's definitely something that you could use quite easily. Giphy, GIPHY, they just came out with they have their mobile app, and they released it for iOS, and it is so easy to be able to search and quick be able to grab and then put into another place. And it's just really, really, if you are doing anything like on your phone and you want to be able to send a quick GIF, anything like that, it brings your reaction time, really, really low, which, with stuff like that is always a good thing. And then go ahead, Kristen.
No, go ahead, Dom.
Oh, I was gonna say Daily by Buffer as well. When it comes to, like, if you want to help curating content, other people's that you could be able to use, it really helps tailor to that, and then it works obviously really well with Buffer to be able to schedule it as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Buffer now supporting GIFs is game changing for me. I love that. I haven't really used it yet, but knowing that I can do it makes me very happy.
There was one other app that I started using that really, like, transformed my whole work, and that was Reportive, which is like a Gmail plugin. And as soon as I started using that, it pulls up anyone that you start emailing, and it shows you their LinkedIn profile and what networks they're on, and a whole lot of information about them. And you can also use it to, like, find someone's email address. If you don't understand, you just kind of test out what their possible email could be, and it'll pull up their social networks. And that's just been absolutely awesome for all of my processes.
Yeah, speaking of email, an app that I've discovered as of recent that kind of changed me is Inbox. It's basically a Gmail. It's made by Gmail. It's not meant to replace the Gmail app. But man, it really lets you cruise through email, and they have this great bounce back feature where it can be like, you're going through and anything that you can't, like, oh, this is going to take some time to respond to, you can get it out of your inbox and basically snooze it for a few hours so that you can just really concentrate on clearing out, getting to inbox 0, and then have everything come back that you need to take action on, which is pretty cool. Anybody have any other apps they've recently discovered? Otherwise, I'll jump us into question 3.
You just reminded me of one, Brew. When it comes down to getting to inbox 0, Nicole Stefani, actually, she's one of the writers for us. She told me about Maelstrom, which is another really great tool when it comes to. I mean, a lot of us have Gmail boxes that are, have thousands of messages in them. It gives you a really awesome way to be able to sort by people, to archive really quick, to be able to create rules, all in this thing. It's actually super, super cheap. I think it's like $15 a month, and you can have 3 different email accounts that you could use with it. And I mean, it helped me clear out my inbox and set up a bunch of new rules and lists. It took me about an hour to clear out probably 1,500 emails and get myself down to 0 at one point.
What's that called?
Maelstrom. Mailstrom.
Okay, I need that. Thank you.
You are welcome.
One more that I just thought of, it's one that I use for the Hangout that I host weekly. It's called Crowdcast. It's at crowdcast.io, and it puts a nice little wrapper around the Hangout. And what's cool about it is it will use like a YouTube live stream, a Hangout live stream, livestream.com live streams, Ustream, all these different forms, and you put the stream into it, and then it puts a little wrapper around it, and it'll have a little chat bar on one side, and then a place where you can ask questions and get them answered beneath it. So it's a nice little kind of one-stop shop where you can incorporate the chat element into a live video feed as well. The name again is Crowdcast, and it's at crowdcast.io. Check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. I just pulled it up. All right, so let's talk about measurement. What's your favorite tool for measurement? Tape measure, ruler. What else?
So we actually use Lithium platform for our community, which I know I've mentioned here a lot, and their built-in social intelligence tool is amazing. So most of mine just come from that combined with Google Analytics and obviously Excel to piece it all together.
When I think of measurement, I also think of like reporting. Like for me, those two really go together. And when it comes down to it, Sprout I know does just a fantastic job. In what I've used with them before, the way that they the ease of being able to show what the what the reporting is and how pretty it looks, which is something to be said for that. Sprout does an amazing job with that.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that really clean report for clients as well when you're managing other communities through Sprout or whichever platform you choose. That reporting structure is really important to send to your clients.
I'd be curious, does everyone at some point leverage either Google Spreadsheets or Excel in kind of their measurement process?
I think you kind of have to, or something to aggregate that together. I mean, I'm sure there's some people that use Apple's spreadsheet tool, but you kind of need some way to do that because you don't always have, or it's really expensive to put all of your data streams into one place, and it's a lot easier to just kind of aggregate them together and put them into a way that you can kind of understand them. So I think that's why I know that's why I use Google Sheets and Excel the most.
I want to hear Chris's answer.
Mine is Rival IQ. That's one of my favorites. It's an easy way to keep track of what our competition's doing. They've integrated Facebook Insights. You can schedule exports now, like daily exports, and they go straight to your email. Coming up, they're going to have like Google Analytics integration. And like hashtag searches, all sorts of things. So like they're super responsive, and they'll add new features if you ask. But like it's quickly becoming like a one-stop shop, and that's my biggest pain. Like using like 5 or 6 different tools to do like one thing.
Preach. That's why I didn't have an answer for this, because I find myself using a medley. This is an issue that I never feel completely happy with the arrangement. Yeah. There's some good things coming out of a lot of different places, don't get me wrong. It's just sometimes that to get the entire, maybe you need one thing that this tool doesn't have, so then you're going over here to another tool to get it.
Yeah, and like for me, like with Rival IQ, like they never had Facebook Insights, so I always just bug them and ask for features, and then they even involve me with like helping them bring in those features. So like they're super responsive, and I really like companies that do that. I think Zoom is kind of like that too, where they're super responsive. Like a lot of these smaller startups are, they listen, and I like that.
Well, we're talking about. No app does it all, and so I think that you have to take these 3 pieces from that app and these 2 pieces from that app and kind of cobble them together. I think that's why it's super important to really understand what's important to your business and to the communities that you're managing, right? So really understand that, because you don't want to prioritize the wrong thing and end up, investing a lot of time and effort and money into one tool that might not that might give you a really great looking report on something that ultimately is not important to your business. So it's really a good idea to take a look at what's important, what's going to help the most customers, what's going to help my business, and make your decisions based on that.
The other measurement tool I was just thinking about is Keyhole and hash tracking. I think those are two for sure. We're really big on measuring kind of overall word of mouth, especially in that Twitter, Instagram space, and those seem to be great tools for us just from a measurement standpoint.
I mean, in talking to that too, I mean, you could even look at Twitter analytics. I know that it's not as
great point.
It's not. I mean, you don't get. It is just Twitter, obviously, if your communities are a couple of different places. But the analytics that you do get through that, or even just Facebook Insights, like we're talking about that working with other platforms. Just those themselves, you go in there and they've done a really good job, I would say, over the last 6 months, both Facebook and Twitter, of beefing up their insights and the analytics so that people aren't going other places and that you can get it right from the source.
Yeah, when I was doing more with Facebook at my last job, that's actually all I used was the Facebook export for insights, and then pulled out what I needed from there.
Yeah, and getting back to like that question about spreadsheets is, I think, at least for us, we found that it's a lot easier sometimes just going right to the sources, grabbing the data you need, getting it in the format you need, and then just running some charts and stuff like that for monthly reporting. All right, so now let's talk about engagement. What's your favorite tool for engagement?
Whichever one the community uses.
Good answer.
Got to go to where the people are.
I actually really love Hootsuite for engagement. I have all my columns set up based on different lists and keyword searches and hashtag searches, and that just works the best for me because it's so quick to scan across and see what's going on.
I use a combo of Hootsuite and then the native platforms themselves, because more often than not, I'm actually just going into the platform and doing something. But Hootsuite's great for having those things that you look for every day that you're constantly going to, or TweetDeck even. But I use Hootsuite.
I've been using the inbox feature in Sprout Social. I'm still in my trial period, but they kind of line up all of your messages from all of your different social networks in one kind of easy to list situation. Fortunately, I only have 100 or 200 notifications at a time, so it doesn't take too long. But for larger companies, it lets you task them out to specific people. So if you have an expert in a certain space, you can task it out to, say, Bob in IT for these questions. You can task out your marketing-related questions to another department, and you can do all of that within the Sprout interface. So that's been really helpful for me, and I can see the applications from a higher level. Like I said, I only have a few notifications every day, so it's not too difficult for me to manage in the native apps when necessary.
Yeah, my favorite tool is the native apps. I mean, both from a Twitter and a Facebook standpoint, I think that they have great interfaces for engaging. The other thing that I haven't played around with it recently, but maybe about 6 months ago, is Meshfire. And I kind of dug the way they handled the engagement there. It was almost like a punch list of things that came in. It's like, okay, I got to get these done, engage with these people, which I think probably sounds a little bit similar, Jacob, to the inbox feature at Sprout. But yeah, I mean, especially if you don't want to let a message kind of float away, I want to make sure you respond to everything. I think those are important.
Yeah, I think Meshfire does that through their little Ember guy. It's like a little fireball, which is kind of cool. I've tried Meshfire and I've tried Sprout as well. It's really just a matter of like your personal workflow and what works best for you. You have to figure that out. For me, I was so used to the columns and really liked that that's what I needed, more the Hootsuite TweetDeck style, but it's not for everyone.
I've done a lot of stuff with Hootsuite on that, and actually, Sprout I did a lot of stuff personally. Hootsuite I did more on the professional side, and I really did enjoy it. Like the column feature. When it comes to engaging on, and really quick, what up Hootsuite? Got the owl shirt too. I wanted to throw that in there. But when it comes to engagement with Twitter chats in particular, which we do a lot of. I would say Nerf is a fantastic tool for engagement. I actually have it up on one of my other windows right now. And then I work for a client, and we do a Twitter chat every Friday, and it's pretty high traffic. Like there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So for that, I actually do use TweetDeck just because of how quick, and I already have stuff set up for it. So it's actually really easy for me to go in there, have everything all side by side. I can, have columns for the DMs and stuff like that, and that really does move pretty quick for me, at least on that side. But other than that, I fall completely with Brew when it comes to day-to-day engagement. Most of the time, not most of the time, I am sitting in the actual native Twitter and native Facebook, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, just chilling in there.
I'm really glad you mentioned Nerf because I love Nerf. I love it. I moderate a lot of chats, and it is really crucial to my process. So I'm glad you mentioned that one.
Shout out to Nerf.
For me, I got to go with Alan here on where my audience is. Like Twitter, it's TweetDeck. Facebook, I just mostly use Facebook, but I'm starting to use Sprout a lot more for that. Snapchat, Instagram, starting to use Sprout a lot more for that. But most of the time I'm on my phone, so I'm just using the mobile native app for Instagram. And that's where our audience is.
One other thing with Instagram too is Iconosquare. Iconosquare does actually a really good job of being able to see Instagram in a different way. You have a lot of, you can search very easily by hashtags. It links up to your account, so you can see, your followers, all that different types of stuff, what people are posting, and all of that. So, Instagram in the native app is great, but it is quite a bit limited. Especially the fact that it's a little bit more difficult because they didn't necessarily open up their API, or they haven't for a long time. So, they kind of handcuff you with what you can actually do outside of the native app. But some of those other things are actually pretty good.
How about listening? What's your favorite tool just for listening?
We're supposed to listen? That's a thing?
Yeah, it's one of the
listening.
first rules of community management.
I knew I was missing something. Gosh.
I've been using TweetDeck for that. Aside from normal hashtag searches, I have specific chats and people pulled up and queued, and I can scroll through them and find out specific things. But I'll admit that I don't do as in-depth social listening as I need to at the moment.
So the one that I think is really cool is called Help Social. Full disclosure, it's a former coworker that built that. But the neat thing was that we actually built it internally at Rackspace and to monitor all of the social that we have going on. It's a really powerful listening tool, and they actually they worked directly with Twitter to get access to the Firehose itself, and so there's no missing tweets at all. Which can happen even on the native Twitter clients. So it's a really cool tool, and it's great to listen to what customers are saying. You can tag customers, you can tag sentiment, you can say, hey, this customer is just a troll, don't bother, or this customer is a really big spend customer. We need to make sure that we give them the white glove treatment, or you can say, hey, they were caught up in a major event that they might still be a little bit sensitive about. So That's it's a really cool tool, and got to promote them.
Alan, that's helpsocial.com. Is that what it is?
I believe so. Helpsocial.com. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Is it just me, or does anyone else have like 29 tabs open right now from all the tool recommendations? I am going to have such a party when we're done here.
I haven't counted them, but I've opened them and saved them to Pocket for each one. So
and the good news is whomever has to write the review or the recap of this episode will have a blast cataloging all of those tools, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of inbound links.
That would be cool.
You're welcome.
Let's see here. So what else for listening? I think getting back to Twitter or TweetDeck or whatever kind of just let's talk about Twitter listening for a minute. I think that especially just from an opportunity standpoint, sometimes it helps to listen for things that aren't necessarily the name of your company, right? I think that by default, everyone's like, okay, cool, I'll put my @ sign for my company, maybe without the @ sign, maybe with a space with quotes in it, maybe the alternate spelling when people F that up. But I think you also have to start thinking above and beyond that, like maybe some of your product names, maybe opportunities where, boy, if somebody said this, I would really like to hit them up. And with some clever Boolean type searching with Twitter, you can kind of actually get one TweetDeck column that has a bunch of crap that's maybe not like, oh boy, people only say this maybe once or twice a week or a month, but you can kind of collapse them all into one search where you have potential engagements of people who aren't necessarily even talking about you or at you. So I think you are nodding hard, nod, or Dom, nod.
A lot of us were, yeah.
I can't nod hard enough. But I mean, in what you're saying too, when it comes to that listening and curating those lists, I think that this might be a stretch saying this tool underneath there, but if this then that, I think. Yeah. If you do a really good job of paying attention to those searches, right? So the number one tool is just yourself. That's right. I just called everyone a tool. But you are the number one tool to be able to figure out what your community is talking about, or what you would like the type of people in your community, what they are already talking about, and then using that other stuff on top of it, being like that to your Boolean search. I'm such a tool. I know I'm the worst. But using those types of things to curate those lists, even if you're just doing it through right back into native Twitter, it gives you a great opportunity to be able to listen.
Well, yeah, and also from a listening standpoint, I mean, this goes back a little bit to engagement, but a proper if then this is going to let you do things like automatically add them to a list, automatically add them to that Excel file, which then maybe you put, or Google spreadsheet, whatever, but maybe you put a couple extra fields there. And so I think you can really extend that type of listening and be really super smart about it. Let's see here. We have about 20 minutes left.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing there too? You just sort of reminded me.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about sort of amplifying that listening and like adding on to that listening, I think that one thing that we sort of get a little too quick to do is think that these tools will do the listening for us. They'll do some of it, but you really have to be the one that drives that type of stuff. Like there's a reason that they call it active listening. Like there's a ton of tools, and it can make it seem like you don't have to do any work and you just wait to see what report, what sentiment this brings in. But you have to be the one that really does drive that, as wonderful as these tools can be.
Hey, listening it's not just listening, right? It's doing something about it once you've got that. So listening will put things in front of you that might or might not be worth your time to respond. It might not. It might help a customer. It might turn away a customer. So you have to have a human that can say, okay, what does this mean? Let's go ahead and make a make a response to this, or maybe we don't need to respond to that. So yeah, it's listening and then doing something with it.
A gimme here maybe is, and forgive me if somebody already said this, but Google alerts. You know, just a nice way to figure out if somebody's writing stuff about your company, because not always does stuff get shared to Twitter where you're listening, and you know, sometimes just shared in private channels where you're not going to see it, but at least Google Alerts lets you know, hey, somebody wanted to write about us.
That's a good point. And what does it mention? And there's some others that kind of do that alerting to things that are not necessarily on social. That is a very good point. I don't spend enough time on those. I should spend more time.
Yeah, Google Alerts are how I keep finding my clones, actually.
I think it's also important to listen to what your audience is saying, just through engaging with them in general, and using that as your own social listening. Like kind of forcing it by asking them questions that lead into other areas where you can be shifting your content or changing your strategy. Really, like, hey, what do you guys think about if we created content like this, and see what kind of response and feedback you get, rather than just trying to find what people are searching for. Why don't ask them?
Yeah, we use what is it called, Ask FM for our community. So that's how they submit questions to us, and we just answer them there. For a lot of our fans, that's how they get their news about what we're up to. But from there, we're able to like listen and help us. It helps us out with, you know, picking new colors for our products, or what models we're going to run next, or which team member we should be sending out to Japan. Like, it really helps out with the decision making.
Cool. All right, I'm going to move us right into our almost final question, which is, what's your favorite tool for content creation? Mine is Photoshop, and WordPad, and yeah. How about you guys?
Google Drive, Google Docs. Writing really long articles and having everyone else on your team kind of add in their opinions over time. It comes down to a lot of communication with your team and talking with your community and having a collaborative workspace. Like, most of my content is written, so it's a little bit difficult to have the best writing tools around. But when it comes to graphics, yeah, Photoshop comes in handy, and occasionally Canva can be a good thing to get a couple social graphics out. WordPress is a great place to store some of your content, things like that.
Can I cheat and say the creative department at BTC? They're great when it comes to content creation.
That's not cheating, Dom, because I don't do content creation either. I have teams that do that.
My favorite tool is other people. That's what my favorite tool
I
is.
prefer outsourcing.
I'm a big just use text editor and write. I write a lot in Markdown, so I do a lot of just write that way. I can get the content out really quickly for my written stuff. I use Hangouts for a lot of the video stuff. Canva, plus one, Jacob, on the Canva there. Do some. I actually just am trying out their new Canva for Work stuff, and it's really nice because you can work with a team, you can collaborate, and then you can also kind of share some templates, share a color palette, so you're already, you know, a bit of the way there. I even made my little lower third here in Canva, so pretty cool stuff that you can do with it. So check that one out.
Someone just said the Hemingway app. I think it's Patrick Helen. Yeah, that's my favorite for writing. Hemingway app. Have you guys tried it?
Speaking of tools.
So incredible.
Just kidding.
Burn on Hemingway, nice.
No, that was a burn. That was a burn on Patrick, not on
That
Hemingway.
tool has so much synergy with what we're talking about. I'd like to just bring in Jen's question, or yeah. So she says, adding to question 6, which is what we're on. By the way, hey Jen, thanks for hanging out with us on Friday. She asks, what tool do you recommend for content management? So you guys got any content management tools?
Dropbox and Basecamp.
Yeah.
Co-schedule.
When you say content management, I mean, are we talking about like an entire content management system like WordPress? I mean, there's a reason that WordPress is serving up roughly 50% of the content on the internet. It's a really solid tool. I try to do things a little nerdier, so I do all of mine in. I have a static site that I put together through a little tool called Hugo that puts together that puts together static web pages based on Markdown content. That's really fun. And then you know, anything to collaborate with people to make that content and to manage the process. WordPress has those things built in. If you don't have something like that, Google Drive is amazing in the way that you can collaboratively edit and share things together. So those are some of the tools that I use.
Yeah, we use Google Drive and WordPress all over the place.
Yeah, in a majority of the clients that I work with, essentially part of what I do is I do the content creation and I outsource, or people outsource to me to write their content. And almost every company I've worked with, whether it be Entrepreneur or Percolate or Sprout Social, they all use Google Drive, and we do a collaborative effort on all of our content. It's just very easy and clean to manage comments and revisions and go back, and it's very simple to use. As far as other content managers, I know Social Media Today, Entrepreneur, Forbes, they use WordPress in a way for their contributors to send in content as well. So WordPress isn't just for small blogs. Larger companies use them too.
Yeah, it is good because then your guest bloggers can actually, I mean, I think even Forbes uses it. Guest bloggers can log in and add their own content, and then it can be reviewed by the editor and posted without them having to do all of that part.
Yeah, it completely takes email out of the equation. So once you've made the connection with Forbes or Entrepreneur, you basically just submit any article that you want, and they approve it or deny it without having to email the editor, go back and forth through revisions. They kind of clean it all up for you, and it's all in one place, and you get status updates based on if the editor approves it or not. Generally, it just goes live, and you start getting a bunch of tweets that say, hey, your article was awesome, or whatever, and that's how you know it went live.
How do you get people to say that your article was awesome? I'm asking for a friend.
It actually doesn't happen that often. Usually it's just retweet. I think to be honest, I recently had an article published in Social Media Examiner, and I probably got 600 or 700 tweets, and only one was actually relevant feedback on the article. I'm thinking, did you just retweet this because it was on Social Media Examiner? Because you gave me a whole bunch of exposure, but there weren't any comments. So they read the title, and they're like, yeah, that's a great title, I'm going to share it. And I'm not really sure how many people actually read it.
Sounds like an RSS auto-tweet feed.
It's like what Sherry almost literally came through the computer at me last week when I was joking around about not reading but still sharing articles on my CMGR. It's one of those things, they're there for a purpose. And,
no, it's not even just ours. It's just one of my big pet peeves is people who share stuff without reading it first, because I actually read every single thing before I share it. It's just, I don't want to promote something if I don't know exactly what it's saying.
So there's one way I get around that, and I will admit that I don't read everything that I share, but I will only share content from trusted contributors that I have read a lot of content from. So I'll create a list of social influencers that I will retweet because I know they're going to do a good job in their article. For example, I can trust Sprout Social. I can trust articles that have been published on Percolate or Content Marketing Institute or from Brian Honigman or specific contributors that I know are going to do their research and they're going to have a good insight.
But the whole point of that content is to learn. So if you don't read it, if you're just sharing it, you're missing out on all the knowledge, and that's huge as well.
Yeah, okay, so I wonder, so 5 years ago, right, I think that people were like, hey, cool, I'm going to follow this person because they're sharing really good content, and I want to learn. And instead of, the internet's so vast, and this will be a good source. But I wonder, I really do wonder, today, 2015, how many people actually like go to Twitter and go, oh, I can't wait to see all the tweeted articles, and all this automation, all these. I see more and more and more of people saying, how the F do I get rid of all of this stuff in my Twitter feed? Because they want to go back to using it to engage or to find people or just turn down the noise. And so I think it is a good point you bring up, Sherry. Is I think everybody should take a look at themselves and say, like, okay, why are we auto tweeting all of this shit? Like what are we giving value to people? And I don't know, just time to go back to the basics and maybe just rethink that a little bit. I don't know.
I think part of it is that it's really difficult to keep up with the content needs, and not necessarily like, I don't actually want to read all of your content that you publish, but with all of the automation, what's going to happen is if you don't publish content, they're going to unfollow you, and then you're going to lose your followers. And if you're not consistently adding people, you're going to lose your followers. And it's really like this kind of superficial vanity metric bullshit that's going on with Twitter and other networks, that you have to stay on top of it just to get the numbers and play the numbers game to have that legitimacy. Like, I only have 1,700 followers, but they're pretty targeted for the most part, and I would only say that maybe 5-10% are interested in what I have to say, but I still have to play the game and get content out there to even keep followers and keep it growing. And if it's only 5%, then 5% of 10,000 is better than 5% of 2,000. So you still kind of have to play the game, and I don't agree with it in any way, but I'm also not going to read the 25 articles a day that I need to publish to keep up with the unfollows and the automation crap that we have to deal with.
I have a feeling this sounds to me like a full-on panel. Like, I just
want to say, like, when people do just publish 25 articles a day just to do it, I unfollow those people because I find it extremely annoying, actually. But maybe I'm in the minority. I could be. It's totally possible. But I refuse to play the game because I find the game annoying from a user perspective.
I mean, I can tell you this, like, if I get followed by someone, I'm like, oh, cool. Oh, they have a cool profile pic. I click on them, and if all I see is, like, just a shitload of articles, I'm like, fuck that. I'm not following this person back. That's enough.
But that's funny you say that, because that's actually something Kristen has, she's great at making sure that she plays the game well. She shares articles, but at the same time she talks to a bunch of people. Gary Vee actually brought that up on one of his Ask Gary Vee shows, brought her profile up. Yeah, cover yourself up. He did it, and she had, he was like trying to essentially out somebody as to just sharing a bunch of articles, but instead saw that she actually talks to people. It's finding that balance of being able to do that type of stuff. And I always think about, I think Brian Fanso always talks about, he's going to be tweeting while he's sleeping because there's people in Australia that might want to see his stuff. Well, you know what? I'm sitting here in Austin at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have a bunch of friends that live in America, and all I'm seeing is, my Twitter stream filled up with 100 straight automated things, and nobody's actually talking about anything, and it's annoying as hell because you want to be able to have that type of engagement, but it's nearly impossible to, because even if you are having that engagement, you yourself are just flooded with 10 on each side of somebody just sharing some dumb article.
Dom, I saw that shit on Facebook this morning, and I'm not going to out the person, but like literally automated, hey, what's your favorite topic so far at this conference? It's like 8 a.m. Facebook posts, or 7 a.m. or whatever, and I was like, dude, really? Now we've moved to this? Now a place where literally we thought we were connecting with real friends and family, like we're gonna automate that now too. Like,
I do use scheduling, but I promise you this: if you see something come out on one of my accounts, I've read it or watched it, and I want you to look at it.
Yeah, I think the proper use of tools like Buffer, as an example, is great, right? Like, hey, here is some good stuff. I'm gonna leak it out over a little bit of time. I get that, but
you run the risk if you're sharing, and he mentioned trusted sources, which I totally get that too. Sometimes I'll retweet. I click on the link and I'm retweeting it at the same time, and then I'm reading it, but it's getting read. And that doesn't happen very often. But the point is, you run the risk of making an ass of yourself, because what if there's a landmine back there in whatever it is that you're sharing? Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. And just so that we have it on record, everybody can check it out. It's actually episode 64.
I know.
So thanks for bringing that up. So episode 64, go and watch it. And, yeah.
Thanks, Chris and Dom.
No, I do think it's about finding that balance, and I've tried a couple different strategies. I tried tweeting 20 times a day, and I've tried tweeting twice a day, and there really isn't a huge difference as far as losing followers. You just need to stay active every day in some capacity. So I don't think you need to be publishing 20, 40, 100 times a day. I mean, maybe if you're Guy Kawasaki or something, but let's be honest, none of us are. You know, it's really a balance that each person's going to have to find, and I'm finding that 4 to 8 tweets a day is respectable as long as they're relevant to my audience.
So I guess here's my question, right? What's the persona of the person who pulls up their Twitter list and like, nah, they're not noisy enough. Unfollow. You know, like why are these unfollows happening if you're not tweeting?
It's not from the person. It's from the untweets and the automation software that says, hey, this person's not following you back. Unfollow them. And they will auto unfollow everyone that's not following you back. That's why there's so many follow-unfollow balances that are really, really close. So if you go and unfollow 1,000 people, you're not going to get unfollowed because you have that high ratio that it's looking for, and you avoid the automatic unfollows. So people are automating their entire networks and dumping people that they should be following just because some piece of software says, oh, well, they're not good because they follow 200 more people than are following them. So their content.
Oh, screw that. I'm not doing that.
Well, but is
I'm not
that a
even-
follower that you're going to miss?
Just not doing it.
I'm not saying that that's what everybody does. I'm saying that that's what happens. And I've noticed
You
that
are right. It does happen.
if I don't follow people back, they'll unfollow me. And
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I've noticed that that's happened. One of the issues is that once you breach that 2,000 follow limit on Twitter the first time, you have to like break the gap to start following. I would follow 5,000 people, and I don't really care if there's 1,000 people following me back. It's just I can't follow more people until people follow me. So it's kind of prohibiting how I could even use Twitter. I might have to like create new accounts to follow different strategies, and that's not really what I want to do. But you have to keep that ratio so that you can break past their stupid ceiling that they have.
What about lists? Is there a hard limit for lists? Because I found lists very useful for cutting out the crap. And you know, so I might not follow somebody, but I might put them on a list, or I might follow a lot of people, and then I have a daily reading list. That's people who are active, and they might tweet a lot of links, but they're also careful and well thought out links that also sometimes have that commentary with it, like this is why it is important to me. So that helps a lot. And then another strategy that a friend of mine, Drew Cox, my co-host on the Hangout that I host on Thursdays, he declared Twitter bankruptcy. He unfollowed everybody and started from scratch. And what's interesting is when he nuked his lists, or excuse me, when he nuked his followers, he kept the lists. So he was able to continue to look at those lists and say, oh yeah, this is somebody that I do engage with a lot. Let me go ahead and follow them so that we can continue that engagement. So that was a really interesting strategy, and it worked out really well for him.
And I also would say that, and maybe I'm wrong here, and boy, we're running out of time, but I think that the stigma of you have a lot of followers is starting to go away. You got a good bio, you're interacting with people, you seem like a cool dude, you meet the person, whatever. I don't know, and maybe it's just because I've been around it so much, but I think there's people who are just as awesome that have 500 followers than some dude's got 89.9K that I know I just watch, that are also following 88 point whatever, and I know they're just using a tool to up their followers, So I don't know. Anyways, all right. I could whine about that all day, for sure.
This is going to lead into another chat.
Yeah.
I think the big thing to just realize is like all of these tools and all of this stuff and all these numbers, like what does all of this really boil down to? It boils down to trying to get some sort of a one-on-one communication. Like that's really what it boils down to. Like to get to that most base level. So all this other shit is great to be able to have that, and you can have tools that can up your follower count and all that kind of stuff, and ratios and what's the best time to post. But really, what it comes down to is having that human-to-human connection with somebody, and finding out which way is to get that best.
Cool. All right. Well, and I'll leave you with this. If you ever want to really mess with someone, go to one of those websites where you can buy Twitter followers and buy them Twitter followers. It's like the best $20 you'll ever spend, and watch their reaction and see how they react. Yeah. So just try that one. It's really freaking funny. Especially do it before a conference that you're both going to. That's a lot of fun. All right, guys. We'll see you next Friday. Sherry, do we have anything lined up yet?
Don't think so, no.
Okay, cool. So if you guys have that topic, head to our website, cmgr.com. Participate. Let us know what you want us to talk about next week. Have a great week, guys.